At 03:15 on the morning of February 20th, 1945, Corporal Tony Stein lies in a foxhole on the black volcanic sands of Iwo Jima, listening to the sound of his own breathing. 23 years old, 6 days on the island, carrying a weapon that doesn't officially exist. Around him, 12 Marines from the 1st Battalion, 28th Marines, sleep in scattered positions across the beachhead. They have no way of knowing that approximately 100 Japanese infantry are crawling through the darkness toward them with bayonets and grenades. In exactly 3 minutes, those 12 sleeping Marines will be dead. Tony Stein will be the only man who survives, and what happens in the next 40 minutes will earn him the Medal of Honor posthumously after he is killed in action 13 days later. The weapon beside him in the foxhole is unlike anything the United States Marine Corps has officially issued. Stein calls it his Stinger. It is built from the wing-mounted .30 caliber machine gun of a wrecked Douglas SBD Dauntless dive bomber, customized with parts scrounged from destroyed aircraft across the Pacific. The weapon weighs 26 pounds, fires from an open bolt at 1,200 rounds per minute, and is fed by 100-round cloth ammunition belts that Stein carries draped across his shoulders like a bandit from the Old West. The Stinger began as an ANM-2 aircraft machine gun manufactured by General Motors. In its original configuration, the weapon was designed to be fired remotely by dive bomber pilots strafing enemy positions. It required electrical solenoids to operate the firing mechanism. It relied on airflow from the aircraft's speed to cool the barrel during sustained fire. It was never intended to be carried by infantry. Tony Stein rebuilt it completely. He fabricated a mechanical trigger system to replace the electrical solenoid. He added a wooden stock carved from mahogany, salvaged from a destroyed officer's quarters on Bougainville. He attached a bipod stripped from a captured Japanese Type 96 machine gun. He fashioned a carrying strap from aircraft safety cable and welded a crude front sight using scrap metal and a welding torch borrowed from a Navy CB construction battalion. The modifications took 3 weeks of work during rest periods between combat operations. Other Marines asked why he bothered when the Corps issued perfectly functional Browning automatic rifles. Stein's answer was always the same. The bar fires 550 rounds per minute. The Stinger fires 1,200. More rounds means more chances to hit the target. More chances to hit the target means more dead enemy soldiers. More dead enemy soldiers means more live Marines. Marine Corps armorers have told him repeatedly that his weapon violates official specifications. The weight distribution is wrong. The cooling system is inadequate. The bipod attachment creates structural stress points that could cause catastrophic failure during sustained fire. Regulations require all infantry weapons to meet standardized specifications for maintenance, ammunition compatibility, and battlefield reliability. Stein doesn't care about regulations. He cares about results. He has carried the Stinger through Bougainville, through Vella La Vella, through every landing since leaving the United States. The weapon has never jammed, never failed, never left him vulnerable. Tonight, it will save his life. The Japanese infiltration unit moving through the darkness belongs to the remnants of Lieutenant General Tadamichi Kuribayashi's 109th Division. They have been watching the American positions for hours, counting the foxholes, identifying the machine gun emplacements, planning their assault. The vanguard carries Type 30 bayonets fixed to Arisaka rifles. Their orders are specific. Move silently. Kill the first Americans without gunfire. Create chaos before the Marines can organize a defense. The lead Japanese soldier reaches the first foxhole at 03:17. 2 Marines are inside, both sleeping. One of them is Private First Class Edward Kurelik from Pennsylvania. He is 19 years old. He will never wake up. The bayonet comes down in the darkness. Kurelik dies without making a sound. His foxhole partner dies 6 seconds later. The Japanese soldier moves to the next position. More bayonets, more silent killing. The infiltrators are efficient, methodical, thorough. They have done this before. By 03:20, 12 Marines are dead. Some never woke. Others woke to steel piercing their chests and had no time to scream. The Japanese soldiers consolidate their positions, preparing for the main assault. That's when one of them makes a mistake. He steps on the edge of Tony Stein's foxhole. The volcanic sand shifts under his weight. Stein's eyes open. He has grown up in Dayton, Ohio, the son of Czech immigrants. His father, Stephen Stein, came to America in 1907 and found work in the factories. The family lived in a working-class neighborhood where every dollar mattered. Tony learned early that survival meant paying attention to your surroundings. The Stein family home on Hickory Street was small, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen where Rose Stein cooked meals for 5 children on a coal-fired stove. Stephen worked at National Cash Register Company making adding machines. The work required precision, tolerances measured in thousandths of an inch, components that had to fit together perfectly or the entire machine would fail. Tony watched his father work on weekends, rebuilding machinery in the basement workshop. The lesson was clear. If something is broken, you fix it. If the factory doesn't make the part you need, you fabricate it yourself. If official specifications don't work for your application, you modify them until they do. He learned tool and die making at Patterson Vocational High School. The trade required mathematical precision and mechanical aptitude. Students learned to operate lathes, milling machines, drill presses, and precision grinders. They studied metallurgy, heat treatment, and blueprint reading. The curriculum was designed to produce machinists who could manufacture components to exact specifications. Tony graduated in 1939 and found work at an aircraft factory. The job paid well, the work was steady. By 1941, he was earning enough to help support his parents and save money for his own future. Then Pearl Harbor happened. He worked as a tool and die maker before the war, precision work that required steady hands and absolute focus. When Pearl Harbor happened, he was working at an aircraft factory in Ohio. He walked away from a steady paycheck and enlisted in the Marine Corps in September 1942. Boot camp at Parris Island revealed something about Tony Stein that surprised his instructors. He was a natural with weapons. Any weapon, rifles, machine guns, pistols, it didn't matter. He could strip them, rebuild them, modify them, and shoot them with accuracy that bordered on instinctive. His marksmanship scores qualified him for sniper training, but Stein preferred automatic weapons. More firepower, more chances to hit the target, more ways to keep your squad alive when the shooting started. The Stinger was his own creation. He had salvaged the A&M 2.30 caliber machine gun from a wrecked Dauntless on Bougainville. The aircraft had belly landed after taking anti-aircraft fire. The pilot survived, the plane didn't. While other Marines scavenged for cigarettes and K-rations, Stein studied the wreckage and saw potential. The wing-mounted A&M-2 was designed for aerial combat. It was air-cooled, lightweight, and fired the same .30-06 ammunition the Marines used in their M1 Garands. Stein stripped the gun from the wreck, fabricated a wooden stock from scrap lumber, attached a bipod from a Japanese Type 96 machine gun he had captured, and rigged a makeshift carrying strap from aircraft safety cable. The result weighed less than a Browning automatic rifle, but delivered triple the rate of fire. Marine Corps regulations prohibited unauthorized weapons modifications. Stein's commanding officers looked the other way. Results mattered more than regulations, and Stein's results spoke for themselves. At 03:21 on February 20th, Stein's hand finds the stinger in the darkness. He rolls left as the Japanese soldier above him lunges downward with a bayonet. The blade misses Stein's neck by 3 inches and buries itself in the volcanic sand where his head had been 1 second earlier. Stein brings the stinger up and fires from a prone position. The muzzle blast illuminates the foxhole in a strobe light flash. Stein sees the Japanese soldier clearly for less than 1/10 of a second. Young, maybe 18, eyes wide with surprise. Then the burst stitches across the soldier's chest, and he falls backward into the darkness. The sound of automatic weapons fire shatters the night. Every Marine on the beachhead who is still alive jerks awake. The Japanese soldiers freeze for maybe 2 seconds. Their plan to create silent chaos completely destroyed by Stein's stinger. Those 2 seconds give the surviving Marines enough time to grab weapons and dive for cover. Then the real fighting begins. Stein rolls out of his foxhole and sprints toward the nearest Marine position. He can see muzzle flashes everywhere. Japanese Arisaka rifles crack in the darkness. American M1 Garand's answer. Grenades explode in bright orange bursts that leave purple after images burned into his retinas. He reaches the position where Private Kurelik had been sleeping. Both Marines are dead. Their rifles are still propped against the edge of the foxhole. Stein grabs both weapons, slings them across his back, and keeps moving. The Japanese are between him and the main American lines. He is cut off, surrounded, operating alone in pitch darkness against an enemy that outnumbers him by approximately 50-1. The smart move would be to find cover and wait for dawn. Tony Stein has never made the smart move in his life. If you want to see how Stein survived the next 40 minutes against overwhelming odds, please hit that like button. It helps us share these forgotten stories with more viewers. Subscribe if you're new here. Back to Stein. At 03:25, he locates 3 more dead Marines, all of them killed by bayonets, all of them still gripping unfired weapons. The scene tells a story that Stein understands immediately. These men never had a chance to defend themselves. They were asleep when the Japanese reached them. The killing was quick, efficient, silent. Private Raymond Jacobs from Texas, age 20. Stein had shared a foxhole with him on the transport ship from Hawaii. They had talked about going home, about what they would do when the war ended. Jacobs wanted to open a garage and repair cars. He understood engines the way Stein understood tools and dies. Private First Class Michael Chen from California, age 19, the son of Chinese immigrants who had fled to America during the Boxer Rebellion. Chen spoke 3 languages and had worked as a translator during training. The Marine Corps discovered his language skills too late to assign him to intelligence work. He died carrying a rifle instead of using his education. Corporal James Murphy from New York, age 22, squad leader, 3 years in the Corps, veteran of Guadalcanal and Tarawa. He had survived 2 of the bloodiest campaigns in Marine Corps history, only to die on Iwo Jima with a Japanese bayonet in his chest. Stein takes their ammunition, stuffing M1 Garand clips into his pockets and belt. 8-round clips, .30-06 ammunition, the same caliber the Stinger fires. He grabs fragmentation grenades from their combat webbing. M61 grenades, each containing 6.5 ounces of TNT and a notched steel body designed to fragment into deadly shrapnel. He takes their canteens, knowing that sustained combat in volcanic sand creates thirst that can incapacitate a man as quickly as enemy fire. He takes anything useful and leaves the rest. Then he estimates the tactical situation. The Japanese infiltrators have penetrated deep into the American perimeter. They are operating in small groups, 3 to 5 soldiers each, moving through the darkness, trying to maximize casualties before the Marines can organize a counterattack. The Stinger gives Stein one enormous advantage. The Japanese have never seen this weapon before. They don't know its capabilities. When Stein opens fire, they assume they're facing an entire machine gun squad instead of one corporal with a homemade weapon. He uses that confusion ruthlessly. Stein spots movement 30 yards to his left. 4 Japanese soldiers moving in a loose diamond formation, rifles at the ready. He drops prone, braces the Stinger against a chunk of volcanic rock, and fires a 3-second burst. The tracer rounds arc through the darkness like horizontal lightning. All 4 enemy soldiers go down. Stein changes position immediately, sprinting 20 yards to his right before the Japanese can return fire. Marine Corps doctrine teaches fire and maneuver. Shoot, move, shoot from a different position. Never give the enemy a stationary target. Stein has practiced this drill thousands of times. Tonight, he executes it in total darkness against an enemy that wants to kill him with bayonets. More movement. A Japanese soldier emerges from behind a destroyed Amtrak 15 yards ahead. Stein fires from the hip without breaking stride. The soldier drops. Another enemy fighter appears immediately to the right. Stein pivots and fires again. The Stinger's rate of fire is so high that it sounds like one continuous roar instead of individual shots. The Japanese are starting to panic. They had expected to find sleeping Marines. Instead, they're encountering sustained automatic weapons fire from multiple directions. What they don't realize is that it's not multiple directions. It's one direction. It's Tony Stein moving through the darkness like a ghost with a machine gun. At 03:30, Stein's first ammunition belt runs dry. He drops behind the rusted hulk of a disabled Sherman tank, pulls a fresh belt from his shoulder, and feeds it into the Stinger's receiver. His hands work by touch in the darkness. He has loaded this weapon so many times that he could do it blindfolded. 300 rounds fired, 200 rounds remaining. Approximately 40 Japanese soldiers still alive and hunting for him. The mathematics are not in his favor. Stein doesn't care about mathematics. He cares about killing enemy soldiers before they can kill more Marines. A grenade detonates 10 feet to his left. Shrapnel peppers the Sherman's armor with sharp metallic pings. Stein feels something hot slice across his left forearm. Blood, but not enough to stop him. He identifies the grenade's trajectory, estimates the thrower's position, and fires a long burst into the darkness. Someone screams. The scream cuts off abruptly. Stein keeps moving. By 03:40, the Japanese realize they have a serious problem. Their infiltration attack has turned into a running firefight. The Marines are awake, armed, and counterattacking. The element of surprise is gone. The smart tactical decision would be to withdraw, regroup, and attack again another night. But Japanese military doctrine doesn't emphasize withdrawal. It emphasizes victory or death. The enemy soldiers consolidate into a larger group, approximately 20 men, and mount a coordinated assault toward the American lines. They hope to overwhelm the defenders through sheer numbers and momentum. They don't know Tony Stein is directly in their path. Stein hears them coming. Boots pounding on volcanic sand. Officers shouting orders in Japanese. The distinctive metallic rattle of bayonets fixed to rifle barrels. He estimates their numbers, calculates his ammunition, and makes a decision that violates every tactical principle the Marine Corps has ever taught him. Instead of finding cover, he stands up. Instead of firing from a protected position, he walks toward the Japanese assault. Instead of conserving ammunition, he holds the Stinger's trigger down and lets it roar. The .30 caliber rounds rip through the darkness at 1,200 per minute. Tracer rounds illuminate the beach in flickering snapshots of carnage. Stein sees Japanese soldiers diving for cover, sees others stumbling backward, sees the entire assault formation disintegrate under sustained automatic fire. He empties his second ammunition belt in approximately 8 seconds. The Stinger's barrel is glowing cherry red. The weapon should be overheating. It should be jamming. It should be failing. It keeps firing. Stein's third belt feeds into the receiver. He adjusts his point of aim, walking the tracers across the beach like a conductor directing an orchestra of destruction. The Japanese assault breaks completely. Soldiers scatter in every direction, abandoning the attack, abandoning their wounded, running for whatever cover they can find. Stein counts approximately 8 bodies on the sand in front of him, maybe more in the darkness beyond the range his eyes can penetrate. The immediate threat is over. The larger battle continues. At 0350, Marine officers begin organizing a counterattack. Staff Sergeant William Harrell takes command of the scattered survivors. He finds Stein reloading the Stinger behind the disabled Sherman tank. Harrell orders him to fall back to the main defensive line. Stein refuses. He points toward the darkness where the Japanese infiltrators are regrouping. More enemy soldiers out there, more Marines who need covering fire. Harrell knows better than to argue with Tony Stein when he has that look in his eyes. He assigns 2 riflemen to support Stein's position and continues organizing the defense. The riflemen reach Stein's position at 0352. Both of them stare at the Stinger. "What the hell is that?" one of them asks. "Aircraft gun," Stein says. "Does it work? You're alive, aren't you?" The 2 riflemen take positions on Stein's flanks. For the next 10 minutes, they provide supporting fire while Stein hunts Japanese soldiers in the darkness. Every time he spots movement, the Stinger roars. Every time the Japanese try to mount another assault, tracer rounds drive them back. By 0400, the infiltration attack has completely collapsed. The surviving Japanese soldiers withdraw toward Mount Suribachi. They leave behind approximately 40 dead. The Americans count 12 Marines killed, most of them bayoneted in their sleep before Stein woke up and started shooting. Harrell organizes a patrol to sweep the area and recover bodies. Stein volunteers. They find the 12 dead Marines scattered across the beachhead. Some of them are men Stein has known since boot camp. Some of them shared foxholes with him on Bougainville. All of them died because a Japanese infiltration unit caught them sleeping. Stein helps load the bodies onto stretchers. He doesn't speak. His face shows nothing, but the Marines who work beside him notice that his hands are shaking. At 0430, the first light begins touching the eastern horizon. Stein sits on the edge of his foxhole, cleaning the Stinger. The barrel has cooled enough to touch. The weapon shows no signs of malfunction, despite firing over 600 rounds in 40 minutes. The wooden stock Stein fabricated from scrap lumber is scorched from muzzle blast. The bipod is bent slightly from being slammed into rocks during the fighting. But the weapon still functions. Staff Sergeant Harrell approaches with a canteen of water. Stein drinks without looking up from his work. "How many?" Harrell asks. Stein understands the question. 20, maybe more." "You sure?" "I'm sure." Harrell does the mathematics. 12 Marines dead, approximately 40 Japanese killed, 20 of them by one corporal with a homemade machine gun. The numbers seem impossible, but Harrell has seen the bodies. He knows they're accurate. "You saved the entire battalion," Harrell says. "I didn't save 12 Marines," Stein answers. The distinction matters to him. Saving men means they survive. 12 Marines didn't survive. Tony Stein carries that weight differently than he carries the Stinger. February 20th becomes February 21st. The battle for Iwo Jima continues. The 28th Marines push toward Mount Suribachi, Japanese artillery pounds the beachhead. Marines die in ones and twos, and sometimes entire squads when a mortar round finds a crowded foxhole. Stein fights through it all with the Stinger across his shoulders. On February 23rd, 6 Marines raise the American flag on top of Mount Suribachi. The photograph becomes the most famous image of World War II. Tony Stein is not in the photograph. He is 300 yards away providing covering fire while the flag-raising detail climbs the mountain. On March 1st, the 28th Marines assault Hill 362A. The Japanese have fortified the position with interconnected bunkers, artillery positions, and machine gun nests. The defensive works are masterpieces of military engineering. Reinforced concrete walls 3 feet thick, multiple firing ports providing overlapping fields of fire, underground tunnels connecting each position so defenders can move without exposing themselves to American artillery. Lieutenant General Tadamichi Kurabayashi has spent months preparing Iwo Jima's defenses. He studied American tactics at the War College. He knows how Marines attack. He knows they prefer frontal assaults, supported by naval gunfire and airstrikes. He has designed his defensive positions to survive bombardment and channel American forces into predetermined kill zones. Hill 362A is one of his strongest positions. The approaches are completely open, no cover, no concealment, just 400 yards of bare volcanic rock leading to bunkers that can sweep the entire approach with machine gun fire. The Marines attack at dawn. By noon, they have advanced exactly 75 yards. The cost has been horrific. 23 Marines killed, 47 wounded. The battalion aid station is overwhelmed. Corpsmen are running low on morphine and plasma. Stein's platoon is pinned down by crossfire from 2 bunkers. The Japanese have excellent fields of fire. Every time a Marine moves, machine gun rounds kick up volcanic sand around him. Type 92 heavy machine guns, 7.7 millimeter caliber, fed by 30-round magazines. Rate of fire approximately 450 rounds per minute. The Japanese gunners are experienced. They fire in short, controlled bursts to conserve ammunition. They wait for Marines to expose themselves, then hit them with precision fire. The platoon is stuck. Men are dying. The platoon commander, 2nd Lieutenant James Robeson from Michigan, is trying to coordinate mortar support. The forward observer is calling fire missions, but Japanese counter-battery fire is destroying every mortar position the Americans establish. Someone needs to silence those bunkers. Stein stands up with the Stinger and walks toward the nearest bunker. His platoon commander screams at him to get down. Stein ignores the order. He knows what he's doing. The Stinger's rate of fire is triple what the Japanese Type 92 can deliver. If he can get within effective range before they target him, he can pour enough fire through their gun ports to suppress the defenders long enough to get a grenade inside. The mathematics work in his favor. Barely. He fires the Stinger from the hip, advancing steadily despite Japanese rounds snapping past his head. The bunker's firing slit erupts with tracer fire. Stein's rounds pour through the opening. He's firing at a target measuring approximately 6 inches high by 18 inches wide from a distance of 50 yards, while walking across uneven terrain under enemy fire. Somehow, every 5th round finds the opening. The Stinger's tracers paint a line of fire directly into the bunker. The Japanese machine gun stops firing. Stein pulls a grenade from his belt, throws it through the slit, and dives for cover. The explosion blows smoke and debris out of every opening in the bunker. Stein is already moving toward the 2nd position. He destroys it the same way, walking fire from the Stinger, then a grenade through the firing slit. The Japanese defenders die without ever leaving their bunker. His platoon advances another 100 yards before encountering the next defensive line. On March 5th, Tony Stein is killed. The official casualty report lists the cause of death as enemy rifle fire. The location is recorded as Hill 362A, the same position where he destroyed 2 bunkers 4 days earlier. The time is approximately 1420 hours, mid-afternoon on a Monday, when most Americans are at work or school, living ordinary lives while Marines die on a volcanic island in the Pacific. The circumstances are unclear. Some accounts suggest he was shot while attempting to rescue a wounded Marine trapped in no man's land between American and Japanese positions. Private First Class Donald Rule had been hit by shrapnel from a knee mortar and was lying exposed to enemy fire. According to witness statements, Stein grabbed medical supplies and crawled toward Rule's position despite orders to stay down. Others indicate he was killed during an assault on a Japanese pillbox that was holding up his company's advance. The pillbox was camouflaged with volcanic rock and virtually invisible until Marines were within 20 yards. Stein allegedly spotted the position, realized it was blocking the advance, and charged it with the stinger. A third account suggests he was simply in the wrong place when a Japanese sniper found his range. Hill 362A was infested with enemy marksmen hidden in caves and spider holes. They would wait for hours, sometimes days, for a single shot at an American officer or NCO. Stein, as a corporal carrying an unusual weapon, would have made an obvious target. The Marine Corps records from Iwo Jima are incomplete. The island was still under attack when casualty reports were being filed. Officers were writing reports while mortars landed around them. Record keeping took second priority to staying alive. Details were lost. Witnesses were killed before they could provide statements. By the time the battle ended, nobody could say with absolute certainty exactly how Tony Stein died. What is certain is that Corporal Tony Stein, 23 years old, tool and die maker from Dayton, Ohio, dies on the black volcanic sand of Iwo Jima 13 days after surviving a Japanese infiltration attack that killed 12 Marines. The stinger survives. Another Marine retrieves it from Stein's body and continues using it for the remainder of the battle. The weapon passes through several hands over the following weeks. It never jams. It never fails. When the fighting ends, someone ships it back to the United States with Stein's personal effects. The Marine Corps eventually classifies it as unauthorized equipment and destroys it. No photographs exist. No specifications were recorded. The weapon that saved Tony Stein's life and killed at least 60 Japanese soldiers during the Pacific Campaign disappears into bureaucratic disposal procedures. Only the stories remain. The Medal of Honor recommendation comes through official channels in April 1945. Captain Richard Wheeler, Stein's company commander, writes the citation. He describes the action on February 20th in precise detail, single-handedly repelling an infiltration attack, killing approximately 20 enemy soldiers, saving the battalion from potential annihilation. The recommendation includes testimony from Staff Sergeant Harrell and the 2 riflemen who supported Stein during the fighting. All of them confirm the same details: 1 Marine, 1 weapon, 40 minutes of sustained combat in total darkness. The recommendation moves up the chain of command. Battalion approves it. Regiment approves it. Division approves it. By the time it reaches Washington, the war in Europe has ended. Nazi Germany has surrendered. Allied forces are preparing for the invasion of Japan. The paperwork documenting Tony Stein's heroism sits in a filing cabinet at the War Department, while strategists calculate how many Americans will die storming the Japanese home islands. Then, atomic bombs fall on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Japan surrenders. The war ends. The Medal of Honor recommendation continues processing. On December 18, 1945, Stein's mother, Rose Stein, receives notification that her son has been awarded the Medal of Honor posthumously. The telegram arrives on a Tuesday afternoon, Western Union delivery. The messenger is a teenager who doesn't understand what he's delivering. He knocks on the door of the Hickory Street house and hands Rose an envelope that contains the most important and most painful recognition she will ever receive. She opens it in the kitchen where she has cooked meals for her family for 20 years. Her hands shake as she reads the formal military language. The President of the United States takes pride in presenting the Medal of Honor posthumously to Corporal Tony Stein, United States Marine Corps, for service as set forth in the following citation. The citation describes the action on February 20th in precise detail. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty while serving with Company A, 1st Battalion, 28th Marines, 5th Marine Division, in action against enemy Japanese forces on Iwo Jima in the Volcano Islands, February 19, 1945. Rose reads every word. She reads about her son single-handedly repelling an infiltration attack. She reads about him killing approximately 20 enemy soldiers. She reads about him saving the battalion from potential annihilation. She reads the words, "gave his life for his country," and stops reading. The medal itself arrives several weeks later. Blue ribbon, gold star, the words "Valor" inscribed on the back. Rose Stein holds the medal and thinks about her son who left Dayton to fight a war he didn't start against an enemy he didn't hate. She thinks about the telegram that arrived in March telling her Tony was dead. She thinks about all the days since then when she has had to explain to neighbors and relatives that her boy isn't coming home. The medal doesn't bring him back. It doesn't make the loss easier, but it tells her that Tony died doing something that mattered. He saved lives. He stopped an attack that would have killed more Marines. He did his duty the way he always did everything, completely and without hesitation. The official citation is read aloud at a ceremony in Dayton. Local officials attend. Veterans organizations send representatives. Rose Stein sits in the front row while someone reads the words, describing how her son attacked Japanese bunkers single-handedly, how he repelled infiltrators, how he gave his life for his country. The words are accurate. They are also insufficient. Words cannot capture what it means to wake up with an enemy soldier standing over you with a bayonet. Words cannot describe the sound of a stinger firing in total darkness. Words cannot explain the decision to stand up and walk toward an enemy assault instead of finding cover. Tony Stein made those decisions in seconds. The consequences lasted 13 days. Then they lasted forever. The 12 Marines who died on February 20th are buried in military cemeteries across the United States. Their names appear on memorial walls and headstones. Some of their families know how they died, bayoneted in their sleep by Japanese infiltrators. Others know only that their sons or brothers or husbands died on Iwo Jima. The Marine Corps does not always provide details. Details can be difficult for families to process. But the families of those 12 Marines should know something. They should know that Tony Stein tried to save their loved ones. He killed the enemy soldiers who murdered them. He hunted Japanese infiltrators through the darkness for 40 minutes to prevent more Marines from dying the same way. He couldn't bring back the 12 who died in their sleep, but he made sure the number didn't reach 20 or 30 or 40. The 28th Marines lose 2,821 men killed or wounded during the battle for Iwo Jima. The regiment receives a Presidential Unit Citation for extraordinary heroism. Every man who served receives the citation ribbon. The dead receive it posthumously. Tony Stein's Medal of Honor is displayed at the National Museum of the Marine Corps in Quantico, Virginia. The citation is mounted beside the medal. Visitors can read about the action on February 20th, about the Japanese infiltration attack, about one corporal with a homemade machine gun who saved a battalion. The stinger is not displayed because the stinger no longer exists. The Marine Corps destroyed it as unauthorized equipment. The only images that survive are descriptions in after-action reports. A&M 2.30 caliber machine gun, wooden stock, Japanese bipod, cloth ammunition belts, 26 pounds, rate of fire 1,200 rounds per minute, 0 malfunctions across multiple combat operations. The weapon worked because Tony Stein built it to work. He understood tools and dyes and precision manufacturing. He understood that weapons are simply machines designed to kill efficiently. He took parts from a wrecked aircraft and fabricated something that kept him alive through Bougainville, through Vella La Vella, through 6 days on Iwo Jima. Then he died on the 7th day. Rose Stein kept the Medal of Honor in a wooden box in her bedroom. She lived until 1978, 33 years after receiving the telegram about Tony's death. When she died, the medal passed to other family members. It changed hands several times over the decades. In 2004, the Stein family donated it to the Marine Corps Museum, where it remains on permanent display. Corporal Tony Stein, United States Marine Corps. Born October 30th, 1921, in Dayton, Ohio. Died March 5th, 1945, on Iwo Jima. 23 years old. Tool and die maker, husband, son, Marine. The last man to wake up on February 20th when Japanese infiltrators attacked his position. The only man from that section of the perimeter who survived. He saved the battalion by doing what he always did, building a better tool, using it effectively, never quitting. The Stinger killed at least 60 Japanese soldiers during the Pacific Campaign. Tony Stein killed 20 of them in 40 minutes during a single night on Iwo Jima. Those numbers are documented in official after-action reports. They are confirmed by witnesses. They are supported by ballistic evidence and body counts. 1 Marine, 1 weapon. One night when everything went wrong except for the man who woke up and started shooting. If this story moved you the way it moved us, please take a moment to hit that like button. Every single like tells YouTube to show this story to more people who need to hear it. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We rescue forgotten stories from dusty archives every single week. Stories about Marines who build weapons from wrecked aircraft. Stories about sons who leave Ohio to fight wars on volcanic islands. Real people, real heroism, real sacrifice. Drop a comment right now and tell us where you're watching from. United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, Czech Republic, where Tony Stein's father was born before immigrating to America. Our community stretches across the entire world. You're not just a viewer. You're part of keeping these memories alive. Tell us your location. Tell us if someone in your family served. Tell us if you've ever heard of Tony Stein before today. Thank you for watching, and thank you for making sure the Marine who built the Stinger and saved a battalion never becomes a forgotten man.